The CEO of United Healthcare got, and the world sighed a breath of relief. You know what this reminds me of? Have you ever heard of the Christmas Truce of 1914? This happened during World War I. British and German soldiers were hunkered down dealing with the horrors of trench warfare when, on Christmas Eve, they decided to put their guns down, and they slowly emerged from their trenches facing the men they had been killing just hours ago. And you know what they did? They played a game of soccer. They put down their arms, and for a few hours they were just guys again playing a game. I'm doing a bit of projecting here, but I bet some of them had a brief moment of revelation, of self awareness, that they were just poor men sent to fight a rich man's war against another group of poor men who themselves were sent by their own rich men to fight. They didn't hate each other. They didn't have some innate reason to kill. They were given a gun by a group of powerful elites and were told to go sit in a damp, disease-ridden trench and kill a bunch of people they never met and had nothing against. And now, for this brief moment, they could just play a game and put aside those differences. And I don't mean to demean what those men did, but I can't help but think of them as I watch people react to the murder of this healthcare CEO. Because, to the horror of some, but the delight of many, we as a sort of collective said this guy deserved what was coming to him. Democrats, Republicans, left, right, we had this moment of almost healing, where we took a step back from fighting over cabinet picks and incoming administrations and pardons and realized that we're fighting a proxy war for a bunch of rich pricks that want us to eat each other alive. This touched a lot of us personally. Who hasn't, either themselves directly or through a family member, dealt with an insurance company denying life-saving surgery or medication because some objective algorithm concocted in a server room decides that our pain and suffering or even death is less important than Brian Thompson losing some of his millions of dollars? I watched my sister-in-law die slowly and painfully of cancer, having to fight the entire time to make sure that she didn't go bankrupt so her husband and kids would have something when she was gone. We have all felt the boot of these companies, and when that hooded man walked up to Brian Thompson and put a gun in his gut, we all had just a brief moment of class consciousness, and legacy media fucking hated it. I saw a New York Times op-ed saying that we were being gleefully morbid. These institutions meant to maintain the status quo have had to go full on into panic mode trying to make sure we keep the golden rule in place. Because when the rich kill the poor by the thousands through their never-ending quest for money and power, it's completely acceptable. Brian Thompson amassed a mountain of money on tops of the bodies of the poor and working class, and that's just capitalism, baby. But the second one of us poor folks stands up and takes down one of the rich elite, well, that's just not acceptable. How many murders are there a day in this country, and do you hear about them on the news? But this rich prick gets gunned down and we have a fucking manhunt out for him, 24/7 coverage, all because he's one of these wealthy elite pieces of shit that our political institutions, media conglomerates, and the almighty hegemony all have a vested interest in keeping alive? So just enjoy this moment, this sort of Christmas truce of 2024. Realize that your neighbor isn't your enemy. Yeah, they might be lost to the propaganda of some dick pill slinging podcast grifter, but they aren't the enemy. The enemy are these wealthy pricks deciding whether we live or die on a computer screen. These institutions clamoring to make this murder some horrid act of desperate vigilantism. Because they know that we have the power. We have always had the power. The only way they can keep their thrones is by dividing that power, pitting us against each other based on our gender or the color of our skin or what zip code we were born in. And the death of Brian Thompson could be the spark that starts a fire, and they will do everything in their power to shut that shit down. I can only hope that they are feeling something right now that they have not felt in a long time. Something all of us feel every time we're late on our bills or our mortgage, or when we go to the grocery store and see that tab going up and up, or when we pull into the gas station and see we don't have enough to fill the tank. I hope that they're afraid. In fact, I hope that they are scared shitless.